Emerson here from Forgetrack with my colleagues from Adrega. First of all, some introductions. This is a joint presentation from Forgetrack, who are Primavera resellers here in the UK, as well as my colleagues from Adrega. There are some practicalities regarding the presentation. Everybody has been placed on mute. So if you do have any questions or anything else to raise, there is a chat and questions area within your meeting webinar application that sits at the side. So if you do have any questions, please enter them in there, and myself and John will pick those up and reply accordingly. There are going to be some contact details also presented at the end, and you'll see this at the end of the presentation. So if you do have any further questions that post the webinar, please obviously don't hesitate to send some questions off to myself. With that in mind, we'll also be sending all the attendees an email with a link to download the slides and a recording of the webinar itself. So just some introductions. As I said, I'll be doing the first few minutes, and then I'll be handing over to my esteemed colleague John Griffiths at Adrega, who'll be running through the core concepts and basics of the Adrega reporting system, as well as running through a demonstration. We should be lasting about an hour, so hopefully by 2 o'clock we should be rounding up and finishing off. But first of all, just some information regarding Forgetrack. For those who don't know Forgetrack, we've been in and around the marketplace for a number of years now. I think we're coming up to 27, 28 years, focusing in and around the project and program management area, with our core use of the Primavera suite more recently since the purchase by Oracle. But our main focus still is dependent upon project and program delivery and execution. So as well as selling the software, we provide our own services to make sure that the end customer gets the best possible return on their investment, and really ensuring the solutions are what you and your customers require. So those, as you can see from that list of solutions, we're not just providing the Primavera suite, but also, and as you'll run through today, our reporting suite from Adrega, but also other areas that focus in around delivery within that project and program function. So who do we work with? Well, we work with really quite a wide-ranging number of organisations, whether they're asset owners to contractors, as well as consultancies at all levels within a supply chain, within a project, within a program, all focusing on delivery. We're based in Hertford, but we also have offices up in Working to support our nuclear customer base, and we're part of the Oracle Gold Partner status within the Oracle Construction and Infrastructure and Engineering business unit, as it's now called within Oracle. So if we move on to the big piece in terms of why did we look at Adrega to actually support and take on and resell. Well, it's actually quite simple, really. Having been worked in and around this environment for a number of years, we were well aware of the issues surrounding reporting and actually getting that information that is held within, in this case Primavera, getting out to those people who require it, not just in a PDF, a static report, but in some more detailed analysis, interactive method. So we looked at all the variable options, whether it was in the new P6 Enterprise option using BI Publisher, or whether it was the add-on to P6, which was Analytics, a standalone reporting system visualizer, the traditional P6 client itself, and various other additions and resellers and developers on the market. So we did quite an assessment in terms of what we wanted, what we believed our customers wanted, and I'm pleased to say in Adrega we found really what we're looking for, which was something that was very simple to use, easy to create, effective reports, not just reports on themselves, interactive, but they could then all be available to a larger audience rather than just the P6 users themselves, and really therefore removing that need for a end user or a consumer to have a P6 license, or actually sometimes training in the sometimes complex P6 application. So what you'll find with here is that the users and the consumers of the reports can access the outputs in a number of different ways, whether it is PDF, Excel, or more importantly via the dynamic and configurable dashboard and reporting area inside the Adrega system itself. And that creates a very, very interesting and forward-looking solution for our end users, solving issues which in the past have become time-consuming and obviously costly in terms of the amount of time taken to produce any type of outputs, rather than the standard Gantt chart that you'll see when you run a print preview inside P6. So there has to be something that's more available, more effective to our end users within the whole environment. So with Adrega, we believe we've got that, and therefore to sort of run through the solution and to talk you through how Adrega works and some of the core concepts, I'm going to hand over to my colleague at Adrega, John Griffiths. John, it's all yours now.
Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you. Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks, Malcolm, for your introduction, and thanks for all of you for finding the time to attend the webinar today. My name's John Griffiths. I'm Adrega's product manager, and for the record, I'd like to point out that I'm a project control specialist and not a software engineer, and many years of experience in scheduling and cost control on all types of projects, both internationally and in Norway, and have first-hand experience of the challenges project control solutions can throw at users. How I got into developing project management systems is not a short story, but let me say that having been a very frustrated end user more times than I can remember, I believe I've been able to influence development to be end-user focused and avoid a feature-driven race so that we could check more boxes than our competitors. Our reporting solution, I believe, is a very good example of end-user needs being satisfied through a design approach focused on what is it the user really needs. And hopefully after seeing our reporting solution, you will agree with me. With me today is our Managing Director, Jan Grimnes. Adrega is a Norwegian company with its head office in Oslo. And the company has been developing project management solutions for over 12 years. My presentation today is going to be split into 3 parts. Part 1 is a PowerPoint slide set highlighting key issues of reporting P6 project data and what we see as being the major advantages our reporting solution has to offer. Part 2 will showcase functionality and capabilities of the solution, and Part 3 will demonstrate options available to import P6 project files. So what are some of the reporting challenges P6 users face, and how have we tried to solve them? As Malcolm has already mentioned, reporting of project data is never straightforward, especially when the program you are using lacks reports and features that you need to keep management and clients happy. To produce reports that are not part of the P6 standard reporting solution normally requires the use of Excel, Oracle apps such as Visualizer, BI Publisher, or other third-party tools. But, and this is a really big but, even using all or a combination of these applications still doesn't guarantee you get the reports you really need. Organizing the data you need is time-consuming. It can be also error-prone, and as users often have their own personal reporting solution, when they leave, the solution leaves with them, creating its own set of problems. Standard reports have some serious limitations. For example, S-curves have no support for displaying a data table of period and cumulative numbers under the S-curve chart. In our part of the world, reporting to the last Sunday of the month, as well as bi-weekly reporting, are mandatory in the oil and gas sector, and also on large government-financed infrastructure projects. There's no support for detailed earned value resource S-curves, for example, engineering labour units by discipline. And possibly, for many of you attending today, the fact that there is no easy way to visually compare projects, for example, compare scenario 1 total float with scenario 2 total float, might be a more serious limitation than those I have just mentioned. So what does Adrega reporting for P6 have to offer to solve these problems? Well, to start with, you can choose from a palette of 15 standard report types, including high-quality Gantt, graphical, tabular, and time phase reports. We support a personal dynamic dashboard where reports can be shared and configured for all types of users. I'll give you an insight into the features available in the dashboard in part 2 of my presentation. There is support for batch reporting for one or more multiple projects using our report bundles feature, and in addition to single project reporting, both program and portfolio reporting are fully supported. Our report builder is really easy to use, and you certainly don't need to be a programmer to create compelling and professional reports. All reports are created using a wizard-based report template builder. Gantt reporting is fully supported with flexible formatting and preview options. Output quality is excellent, removing the need to use Visualizer. There's extensive report for grouping and filtering, so organizing your reports however you may want to is fully supported. Excel is used for graphical and tabular report output. And as most users will already have Excel, there is no need for installation of an additional reporting application to output reports. You have full control over the configuration of headers and footers on a report-by-report basis, and company logos can be added to an image gallery for use in the body of reports and in headers and footers. So what are some of the key benefits of our solution? Well, first and foremost, it's a centralized solution which supports from the ground up reporting standardization for organizations of any size. We can dramatically speed up and improve the entire reporting process, resulting in significant value creation. As an example, with just a few clicks, a report set of 100 pre-configured reports can be output to a single PDF file or pushed automatically to users' personal dashboard. It's super easy to use. The way reports can be delivered to many different types of consumers of project data is very effective. And as I've already said, you don't need to be a programmer to become a reporting superstar. The solution is, of course, fully supported and will continue to be developed and improved, and removes at a stroke the headache of user-owned solutions. So what are some of the key system features? Well, it's a cloud or self-hosted as in-house delivery options. Cost of ownership is low. Think of renting licenses rather than outright purchase. And users can be easily added and removed in line with project workload. We have a role-based access manager, a simple role structure of 3 roles. Role configuration is used to give users access to specific features and removes the need for additional privileges to access projects and reports. Access to options within each module are also easily configured so that users see only the options they need. Role number 1 is the manager role. This provides access to all modules or options within each module. This role gives the user access to the planning module where they can import P6 projects. Reporting is also included in the manager role. Here you can create report templates and report bundles and share them with other users. And home is where you can access your personal dashboard as well as the new Gantt reports option. Role number 2 is dashboard and reporting. This role gives users access to reporting, their personal dashboard and Gantt reports. This role is suitable for users who do not need to import projects but would like to have the added flexibility of creating reports and report bundles for their own use, and if they need to, share them with other users. And role 3 limits the user to only accessing their personal dashboard. With this role, a user can see reports which any of the users with the previous roles have shared with them. In addition, they can also be given access to the Gantt reports option. And here is an example of how a user's personal dashboard looks when they open as their default view. As for what's new that's been added since our last webinar, if any of you have attended, here are some of the key improvements. We've added support for updating the saved baseline with a revised baseline from P6 if the baseline has been revised in P6. Import time of large projects has improved quite dramatically. Here you can see a 14,000 activity project with 750,000 hours and 42,000 links can be imported in just under 3.5 minutes, while a 6,000 activity is less than 2 minutes. We've added support for Primavera % complete fields, duration, physical in units, and we've also added support for import and mapping of resource codes, roles and expense categories. Non-standard weekly and monthly reporting cutoffs, for example 25th of each month rather than end of the month or last Sunday of the month, has also been added. I'd also like to open up a little bit on the future development plans. And one of the things that is actually going to be available quite soon is resource curve support. And we're also looking at adding notebook topics for both reporting and visualization within Gantt reports. And for those of you who are using EPPM, you might be also interested to hear that we're starting to look at how we can use web services and the Oracle Gateway to automate project export and import. So with the PowerPoint complete, let me get out of our good friend PowerPoint and hop into Adrega and start the live presentation. Here we are. I'm logged into Adrega, and what you see now is my personal dashboard. User settings have been set up so that the dashboard opens as my default view each time I log in. And my dashboard is configured to display my primary report bundle, which has got 14 reports, using a default layout of 4 reports per page. I'll come back to the dashboard and also its neighbor option, Gantt reports, a bit later in my presentation. And I'll now open the planning module. Planning, as I mentioned earlier, is where you manage your projects and run the import wizard to add new projects or update existing ones to the next data date. This view is called the projects view. Think of this as the equivalent of the projects view in P6. To access the planning module, as I said earlier, you have to be assigned with the role of manager. And with this role, I'll be able to share new projects, import new projects, update projects to the next status cutoff, and share projects with other users who need to report on them. This current view displays projects I've imported from P6. You'll see that the view or layout, as you would call it in P6, has been configured to mirror an enterprise layout you might have set up in P6. I've also imported a number of project codes that are being used in my P6 projects, for example, enterprise, project status, project type, current phase, and strategic objective. This supports the creation of groups and filters that can be set in your project views. This view, for example, has been configured to group on the project code enterprise and to display only enterprise valid projects. The current project layout is the P6 total project cost status, which is a layout configured to display summarized project cost information at the project and portfolio. And from this drop-down list, I can select another view, for example, P6 labor unit status, and once the view is refreshed, we'll see summarized labor units information for the enterprise valid projects. You may have noticed that the column names match the names you would see in P6. For example, scheduled % complete project labor units is normally called planned % work in Adrega. Using the Customize Fields option in the Adrega admin module, all key system fields have been pre-configured to match field names used in P6. This is also reflected in fields included in the numerous standard reports that are included in the base solution. So if you'd like to use your own terminology, then the Customize Fields option will allow you to do this. To report on P6 projects, a user, depending on their role, will require access to 3 Adrega PI modules. These modules are Planning, where we are now, Reporting, and Home. Access to these modules is role-based, and as I showed earlier in the PowerPoint examples, role configuration provides a way to easily give specific types of users access to some or all of the above. If you're just a consumer of project data, then your role will give you access only to the dashboard, Home, and this will enable you to view report sets called report bundles that have been shared with you. You want to create your own reports and report on the projects you have access to, you need to be given access to the reporting module. With the reporting role, you can create and share reports with other users, as well as create and share report bundles, which allows users to view project data in their personal dashboard. Before I show you how a P6 project is imported, I will demonstrate some of the functionality available in the reporting module and the dashboard. Let me go to reporting. The reporting module has 4 main options. We've got the projects option, report bundles, templates, and image gallery. The project view, which is this current active view, consists of 2 panes. The left pane lists all the projects you can report on. The right pane lists all of the report templates, as well as templates other users might have shared with you. This view is used to run one or more projects selected here in this left pane against the reports that you have here and a form of ad hoc basis against one or more projects. From this view, you have the option of opening reports in Excel or printing directly to PDF. When you run reports, you can limit the start and finish span of the report by changing the options here. If you're reporting on multiple projects, you can opt to print the selected reports here in the right pane for each project you've selected using 2 cycle options. None will provide an aggregated or summarized report set for the selected projects. For example, you're reporting on a program, and selecting through all projects will print the selected reports for each project. And so if you also check summarize all projects, an additional set of reports will be automatically run to provide the summarized program level data. If you've selected 2 projects and 4 reports, both of these options, then you get a total of 12 reports output, 4 reports for each project and 4 program level summarized reports. Compare reports by projects is a new option we have recently added. This option allows you to compare 2 or more projects using any report type. For example, I have 2 schedule scenarios and I want to compare total float changes between scenarios. This option is best used with the report bundles feature and dashboard, as reports can be displayed side by side or under each other, allowing for easy comparison. Think of this as being a form of visual claim digger. Note that Gantt reports are run a bit differently, but I will come back to this in a moment, a little bit later. So what I'm going to do now, just to give you an example of the type of reports that we have, I'm going to select the Melrose report project and 3 of these monthly S-curve reports, and I'm going to output them to PDF. Dialog is displayed showing the progress of printing, and clicking opens the PDF viewer. And here are examples of how S-curve reports look when viewed or printed. Report 1 here is a cost performance earned value report based on project cost. Report 2 is a percent complete report. I explode a little bit to see the values down here. And report number 3 is a labour units report for the entire project. All report types have options for configuration. Logos and images can be added, including in the headers and footers. You can also include an image in the body of the chart for extra effect. There are divide by value options, and setting the number of decimals to display the number and percentage fields are also configurable report by report. I'll now go back to reporting and run the same report set, but this time using the Excel option. When this option is selected, we create an Excel workbook on the server and include a worksheet for each report run. When output is to Excel, we also include a data sheet for the values you see under the S-curve report. So if you're an expert Excel user, the data table worksheet could be used in a variety of different ways, for example, with a pivot table. I'll now go back to reporting and select a Gantt report and show you some of the options that configuration options this report type supports. This time I'm going to select a bigger project, the Ravine Hydro Power Scenario 1, and I'm going to select the activity schedule report 07 with labour units. Click OK, and this will launch the Gantt viewer. The project opens in what you could compare with the Activities tab in P6. Think of a Gantt report like a layout you can create in the Activities tab. The layout is interactive, but you can't modify the data that is being displayed. The view supports a number of options, including drill down, so I can expand to example for level 3. I can go back to level 2, and if I want, I can expand all. The timescale can be zoomed dynamically, and I can also drag the timescale using the mouse. You can hide and show the links, as well as switch on and off, for example, showing the WBS highlighting. You can modify bar styles. So, for example, if you want to display a field against one of the activity bars to the right or the left or above or below, this is fully supportable. Current filter settings can be updated, as can the grouping settings, and columns can also be added and removed using the column editor that you see here. If the width of a column is not wide enough, just drag it with the mouse, or if you want to move the columns around dynamically, just drag them as if you were changing the layout in a Primavera view. Once you've made all your changes and the report is configured as you wanted, just simply click on the Save icon and all your changes will be saved. As you can appreciate, this is a nice touch as it removes the need to go back to the templates view to update the report and try to remember all the changes you need to make. So what you see here in the Gantt viewer after the template is saved is what you or other users will see the next time the report is run. This view can be previewed prior to printing, and if I now open the Print Previewer option, I'll show some additional features you might find useful. For example, I can insert a manual page break. If you wanted an automatic page break when a WBS code changes, then this can be configured using the page break option in the Gantt report template wizard. You can zoom to see a better high-quality image of the report, and what you see now is representative of the readability and quality of the printed output. Well, finally, you could view this particular report over multiple pages. I'll now return to the Gantt viewer and show you a couple of additional options, and after this we'll take a look at the Report Templates module. Although we initially selected a Gantt template in the Templates view, you do not need to return to Templates to load another report. From within the Gantt viewer, you can load any Gantt template you have access to using the Gantt Reports option. Just pick another template from the Gantt Reports list and the Gantt will refresh. Think of this option like layout list you see in P6 in the Activities tab. Here, for example, is a typical activity schedule Gantt report, and this next report I'll load is a not started activity report grouped by month. Another nice feature is that you can also switch between any of the projects you have access to using the projects option. So let me select the Melrose project and load it using the current template view and switch to 01, which is my labour units summary report. We also support the selection of multiple projects from the pick list here, and they will be loaded using the currently selected Gantt template. Think of this as being the same as the Enterprise view in P6, where you can select multiple projects and then open the Activities tab. Finally, there is a project filter option that lists by report type all the reports I've created. Finally, there's a project option that allows you to, for example, to filter the project list for just your active projects. All of this functionality is also available to users who have access to Gantt reporting in the Home module as well as the dashboard. So it's not necessary for them to come into reporting, run Gantt reports. If they have access to Gantt reporting, they can do it from home. I'll show you that in a moment. So how easy is it to create and edit reports? Well, this is the reports template view that lists by report type all of the reports I have created or have been shared with me. Now, let's take a look at the type of reports you can create and some of the many configuration options that are available. A new report is created by selecting the Add New option, and you can create a new report from a palette of 15 standard report types. Gantts, there are 9 graphical reports such as S-curves, resource histograms, trend and pie charts, and 5 tabular reports for reporting activity and resource assignment information. Note that 3 of these tabular report types support reporting of time phase, project cost and resources, for example by day, week and month. Reports are created using an easy-to-use wizard-based user interface. We spend a lot of time trying to make the creation of reports easy while supporting advanced features that many users need. For example, we talked about multiple project reporting by program or portfolio, multiple level grouping, advanced filtering and sorting, and for time phase reports, period options for displaying any type of numeric data, for example by day, week, month, quarter and year. All our tabular report types support drill down, and note that drill down is also supported even when viewing this type of report in the dashboard. In the templates view, you see all the reports that I've created and grouped them by report type. If other users had shared reports with me, it would also be displayed here. You can easily share reports with any user who's been assigned the role to access the reporting module using the Share Report option. The dialog shows you the names of the users assigned with the reporting role and who the report is currently shared with. To share with another user, just select name and move to the right side of the shared dialog, click on OK to save your changes, and the report is now shared with them. Shared reports cannot be edited by other users, but they're free to make copies of a shared report which they can then edit. Using the share option makes it really easy to distribute master reports to other users, which then can be used with their own projects right out of the box. Reports can also be globally shared with all users, so that a new user logging in for the first time can be given access to a set of standard reports. This is an option available when editing a report template. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy a report just to show you how easy it is and modify it. So using the copy option, I can copy the report, and I'm going to add text on this to late schedule, as I'm going to add some additional information to the report, and then click Finish to save it. Now let's edit the report. As I said earlier, I want to add an additional curve that will display in this particular report for late labour units. So here's my report. Double click on it is one way to edit it, and the report wizard will open. The S-curve report has 5 steps. Step 1 is where all the curves available that can be reported on can be selected. This report is a labour units report, and 6 curves are already included and configured to show cumulative and in some cases periodic values. The list of field types on the left-hand side shows all the curve types that this type of report can support, and I'll expand the work curve set and find the late labour units and add it as a new curve to the report. I'm going to change the colour here to something a little more sharper, change the line style, and I'd also like to see the histogram periodic information. So again, I check the color and this time choose a different shading. Next takes me to a filter step where I can create an on-the-fly filter if I'm running this as an ad hoc report, or create a predefined filter if I wanted to filter for a particular phase of my project using, for example, an activity code. I can also modify the start and finish of the project. So, for example, if I had a project that was rather long and you only wanted to show from the current date to date and back 3 months, you could set this and the report start will now always be 3 months before the project's current date to date. Step 3 allows me to select the report period to report by, for example, by month, daily. Here are the different periods being supported. If I've got large values, I can use dividers. And for example, I can show if it's a percentage report that's being combined with labor units, I might want to show no decimal points for the labor units, but 2 decimal points for, or digits for the percentage values. I can adjust the size of the legend font for the table if it's a lot of periods, and I can also embed an image into the body of the chart. Step 4 is where I can configure the header and footers. We support the display of logos and images in any of the available fields. And you can enter your own text in a field or select to display a system field value, for example, period, type, project name or manager name. And then finally, in step 5, you give the report a name, and if defined, you can use report categories here to help you organize your reports. For example, link report to specific projects, clients or users, or in this case, define as a report to include in my ad hoc report set. So clicking finish saves your changes. So I'll reopen the projects view. I'm going to select the Melrose project and use the print to PDF option to run the report that we have just copied and modified. It's the Melrose project, and let me select the report, modified, here's the late schedule, and we'll send it out to PDF. Open. And here you see, here's the S-curve report with the cumulative late labor units, the red dotted line with the values here, and here is the period values for the same curve for the remaining labor units by month. As you can see, it doesn't matter which type of report you're creating or editing, it's that easy to configure it the way you want, whether it be bar style, the values that you want to see, the percentage, or a number of options are extensive. So let me close this and go back. As many of you, I'm sure, are very interested in Gantt reporting and what Adrega can offer compared to Visualizer. Let me now edit a Gantt report and show you some of the options we've provided that can help you create compelling and high-quality Gantt reports. As I mentioned earlier, think of an Adrega Gantt report template as a P6 Gantt layout with a lot of additional features like preset groupings, filters and bar styles embedded in the layout. And as you saw when we edited the S-curve report, double-clicking my template activity schedule report opens the Gantt template wizard in edit mode. Note that you've got all the options such as copy and share. These are also available for Gantt reports. The Gantt report has a total of 9 steps and reflects the increased number of options available for this report type. Step 1 provides access to all the fields you can include in the table pane. You can add a user title for each of these columns, and you can set column width and the alignment. Fields available are grouped by field type, so you just select the fields you need, add to the right pane, and then use the up and down arrows on the right-hand side here to set the order in the display. I've noticed that this particular report lacks the field total float, so I'm going to add it and insert it before schedule % complete. Down here is the total float. I'm going to insert it here. Off we go. Next step allows the configuration of graphical indicators. So if you had added a threshold field in step 1, for example, SPI, Schedule Performance Index, it will be displayed here, and you can edit the default threshold settings if you see the need. In step 3, we have grouping. You can define more than 3 levels of grouping. More level boxes will appear once you've added 3 groups, and all activity code fields you have in your P6 projects can be used with this grouping option. We also offer a special grouping by option for date fields that supports grouping dates by periods, for example month, and will include all activities with start dates in the same month. You can also set the level of the WBS that should be opened if pre-configured by WBS, as well as page break on a particular level of the WBS rather than inserting manual page breaks. Step 4 is the filter option. Might be looking for only critical activities or looking for only open-ended activities. Step 5 is bar style configuration. Here you can have a separate bar style configuration for every single report or particular reports. making it easy to standardize that certain reports, performing reports, have the same bar style, so you can set them up to match the bar styles that you have in Primavera. Step 6 gives you control over additional options like displaying the step front line here for work or cost. You can hide the links, you can show and hide summary bars, and again we have these options for showing a number of decimals for numeric values, percentage values, and here I'll increase this to 2 as I want to see 2 decimal places for my percent completes. Step 8 is the headers and footers, which we saw earlier. And then step 9 is naming the report and giving it a project category. So for a Gantt report that are viewed in a user's personal dashboard, all the options I have just shown are supported. So viewing a Gantt report in the dashboard is not compromised in any way. So let me run the report I have just modified against the Ravine project scenario 1 and run it. Here, once the report is loaded, you will see the project total float column has been added. Here's the float column. And you can see that the percent complete has also been modified to now be showing 2 decimal places. As I said earlier, any changes that you make in this, if you own it, this particular report, you just click on the Save Report template and your changes will be saved. So, I hope that after what I've shown you, that you will agree that the report creation and editing process is really straightforward, and that, as I said earlier, you don't need to be a programming expert. So, having created a bunch of great looking reports, how do we automate sharing them with other users? Well, this is where the report bundles feature comes to our rescue. Report bundles are an easy way to simplify and dramatically speed up the process of running the same reports against specific projects anytime you need to. For example, at each reporting period, simply select your pre-configured report bundle and just run them either to Excel or to PDF. With a single click, a complete set of pre-configured graphical tabular reports can be run for a single project or a program or even an entire project portfolio. Nothing at runtime needs to be configured, no changes to column widths need to be made, no format updates, no mods to headers and footers. All the user needs to do is select the bundle, click OK, and the report set will be printed. Let me print the Melrose bundle here that is configured especially for printing and show you how quick and easy it is. This particular bundle contains 13 reports, and whether your bundle contains 20 or 100 reports, the results will be the same. We heard recently of one company who were providing a client with a package of 100 S-curves as part of their monthly reporting requirements. As you can appreciate, this feature would have saved them a lot of time, as with just a couple of clicks, 100 reports would have gone straight out into a bundle as you're seeing here. Here's a selection of the various reports in the bundle, including pie charts. Histogram reports can also be included. Here is a cost performance report. Report bundles can be configured to be displayed in the user's dashboard. So particularly if information is a little bit different, you can create a separate set of reports that are configured to be easier to view in the dashboard, or separate reports, a bundle that will be printed. Report bundles can be shared in the same way that reports. So if you are a super user, all you need to do is select the share option and select the users that you would like to share this particular bundle with. This is the way that you would share a report bundle with users who are going to view them in their dashboard by selecting from this list. As report bundles can be configured to report on multiple projects, there are a number of additional options that I mentioned earlier, which are the cycle and summarize. So here is a manufacturing project portfolio, which uses a filter to automatically select manufacturing projects when the bundle is run. You can use an existing report bundle as the starting point for a new bundle and edit to include the projects you need. So it's very easy to take a bundle and use it on multiple occasions. What I'll do now is modify the Melrose report bundle I just ran and show you how simple it is to configure. I click on the edit option, bundle will open, it's warning me that it's shared, and the wizard just has 3 steps. Step 1 is where you select the projects you would like to report on. If you need to report on a program, just add the projects from the project list and move to the right-hand side. To reduce the need for constantly updating the report bundle project list, when reporting on a program or portfolio, you can use the filter option here to select specific projects. As I said earlier, for all active manufacturing projects. As new projects are added or get completed, when you run the report bundle, the filter will check the project list and all active manufacturing projects will be selected automatically when the reports are run. Step 2 is where the reports you want to run are added to the bundle. The order of the report controls the order in which they are imprinted, and you can use the up and down arrows here to set the order they should be printed in. In addition, if a report bundle includes multiple projects, you can tell Adrega which reports should be run only at the summarized level and which reports should be run at the project level. This means you can set up summarized reports specifically to report summarized data and reports that will report only project data. For example, you may want to divide cost values by 10,000 at the summarized level, but at the project level show normal values. In step 3, you have the options for cycle, and if you want to compare projects, you would use the compare option. I'll show an example of a bundle with this setting in the user's dashboard in a few minutes. To display the reports in the user's dashboard, you select the option View in Dashboard. And finally, we have a new option here which allows configuration of the layout of the reports to be displayed in the dashboard. For example, you have 8 reports in the bundle, 4 display project cost information, and the next 4 reports display labor units. So for best viewing, you set the default layout option, in this case 4 reports by 2 rows. I hope you'll agree with me again that the reporting bundle feature is an easy way to automate project reporting and combines elegant simplicity with some rather unique features. So having set the option to make a report bundle available for use in the dashboard and shared it with other users, what does the user get to see in their personal dashboard? The aim of the Adrega personal dashboard is to provide dynamic on-demand project, program and portfolio reporting across any organization that is specifically tailored to the needs of the user. The dashboard is a portal for all consumers of project-related data, whether it's users in your own organization, clients or owners, and using the features we've built into reports and report bundles, users don't need to be provided with hard copy reports, and this can be eliminated. A customer or client can also be given access to and restricted to seeing only the data they need to see, and we believe request reports to the planner or reporting responsibility will be greatly reduced if upfront thought to the design of reports and the number of report bundles needed is carried out. As I said earlier, there is no additional work required, as once the project is updated in Adrega, the data is immediately available in the user's dashboard. This is my personal dashboard. I've configured it to load a report bundle that is comparing schedule scenario 1 and 2 for the Ravine Hydro project. This is the visual claim digger option I referred to earlier that uses the new compare feature. Bundle report set contains 8 pre-configured reports and is set to display in the dashboard as 2 reports by 2 rows. So reports are spread over 4 pages. The first 2 reports allow me to compare the early and late project cost by month. Going to page 2 compares at completion total cost at level 2 of the WBS. And page 3 is a Gantt chart which compares total float between the 2 scenarios. And the last page will show the critical activities in each scenario. So here, for example, in the total float scenario for scenario 1, I've got a 0 total float for diversion tunnels, but scenario 2 has given me minus 24 days of negative flow based on the changes that we have made. And as I say, if I go to page 4, I can see a list of the critical activities compared between the 2 scenarios, which show a considerable increase in the number of critical activities in scenario 2 when compared to scenario 1. As I showed earlier, all of this is possible to print and gives you that information directly to the printer. Here are all the new critical activities based on scenario 2, so showing that scenario 2 is a lot worse than scenario 1. So it's very easy to switch between the dashboard report bundles. And by the way, just as an add-in, we're very keen to improve this compare feature. So any comments you may have regarding additional functionality you think we should consider adding, please email Malcolm or myself and we'll be happy to look at what you have to offer. So as I said, it's very easy to switch to the dashboard report bundles. Here are a list of all the different bundles that I have created. So I can click on the Melrose plant and here it appears with the latest information. So it's very easy to switch to display another report set. I will now highlight some of the features that we have available directly in the dashboard for the user. There are 14 reports in this report bundle, and as you can see, we've got not only graphical reports, but we've also got Gantt reports showing status and performance information at the project's current status date, which is here at the end of May. Page layout, again, has been configured to show 4 reports per page. But if you want to, you can switch to another layout using the layout options here to see, for example, 4 reports by 1 row, or go to 6 reports by 2 rows. It's up to you. You can easily move, as I showed earlier, between different pages. And not only can you press on the page button here, there's also a bar on the side at the Essence swipe. So features available in dashboard reports include you can show and hide all the legends for the graphical reports. All widgets can be maximized. Mouse over will display key values at the data points. And here is telling us that the status date is going to be at the end of, if it comes up, last status date, 31st of May. For tabular reports, drill down is supported directly in the widget. And I can use a local menu to expand all and collapse all. So again, full flexibility. It's not just a static report. The information option shows details about the report, for example, filter criteria and grouping. And Gantt reports are particularly flexible and perhaps something that people could be very interested in seeing. I've maximized the Gantt. It's displayed in full screen mode. And as you saw earlier, when I ran a Gantt report to the view was interactive. And this is also true when viewing Gantt reports in the dashboard. I said you can move the timescale with the mouse, you can zoom the timescale, you bring it back. You've got a go-to option. There's expand and collapse again, either by using the plus and minus buttons here, or I can expand using the level option as well. We can show the step status line, the local menu options that we showed earlier for turning off the WBS highlighting and showing links is also available directly from the dashboard widget. And you can also switch to another Gantt template. So if you've been shared with other templates or you've created your own templates, within the widget, I can load another view of the data for the same project, or for example, look at open-ended activities, or I can go back and look at my labor unit status summary. So for a user who needs access to additional Gantts, there's no need to go to reporting. They have access to it either through a dashboard widget or directly through the Gantt option. You can also print directly from the widget using the print preview option here. And this offers the same functionality that we saw a little earlier within the print viewer that we saw. So we've got the page break, the zoom, all of those other options available. So again, from directly within the Gantt widget, it's possible to view and print your data directly from within the user's dashboard. Being able to print a Gantt report from the dashboard, I believe, is a huge time saver, as there is no longer any need to chase a scheduler to get a PDF or printed versions of Gantt reports. It also means you don't need a P6 license to get access to Gantt reports. And finally, another nice feature is that you can print all graphical and tabular reports to PDF or Excel directly from your dashboard. Just click on the PDF option or the Excel option, and the current set of reports you're viewing are output, for example, to PDF, just like this. As you can appreciate, this is a real time saver for users requiring hard copies of the reports they see in the dashboard, and once again removes the need to be running to somebody else to get their reports printed. Note that the output to Excel option can be switched off and on a user-by-user basis, so you might have a client who requires PDF output, but you're not going to give them access to the raw data by giving them access to the Excel option. So I hope that our dashboard solution and features like being able to print directly to PDF demonstrates our philosophy of going the extra mile to provide users what we consider is essential functionality. Printing to PDF, printing high-quality Gantt reports directly from the user dashboard are, I hope, excellent examples of how we try and support users' real-life needs. This concludes the second part of my presentation, and we're learning a little bit late. We started a little bit late. So what I'll do now is I'll quickly run into the import side of things and show you how a file is exported out of Primavera and imported into Adrega. I've got a project in Primavera, the Saratoga project. It's got a data date here that is being updated to the end of January. Okay, so to export it from Primavera, what we do is you've set your data date, has been set. You've updated your activities, your resource assignments that have been statused in progress, and the project's been scheduled and summarized. As for this project, the store period performance feature is not being used. We save the period performance if you've saved it in P6, but it's not mandatory. But if you have, we'll import it and we'll build a register of historical values in Adrega. To access the P6 export feature, you click on the option File, and the Export File dialog opens. And here you'll see the Primavera P6 XML, which is the format that Adrega currently imports. If you're using P6 release 15.1 or higher, you have the option of including any of all the baseline files associated with the master project you're exporting. Unfortunately, this is not possible with the XCR file format, and is one of the reasons we opted for the XML format. I'm going to check off the mid-project status baseline and the customer sign-off because I want to bring those into Adrega, and click OK. And click Next. And now what I'll do is just check to see that we're going to the right directory, press Save, and Finish. If you're using an earlier version of P6 and you need to import the current baseline, you'll have to use the Restore feature in P6 and export the baselines as a separate file. And although all project level layouts are exported, we currently do not support import of them. So if you uncheck this option, the file will be exported as XML, but if checked, the zip file will be created. As you'll see in a moment, on import, you have the option of selecting either zip or XML. So with it now exported, we're ready to import into Adrega. So let me go back to the planning module in Adrega and import. As I pointed out at the start of my presentation, to be able to import P6 projects, you need to be assigned with a manager role. So this gives you access to the planning module and the options for importing. When we import a P6 project, the entire schedule is built in Adrega. If you've used the Save P6 period performance feature, as I said earlier, each period you save will be added as a corresponding status period. However, as I mentioned, it's not mandatory to do this, and Adrega will use the project's data date as a current cutoff on import and save a status period. Once the project's been imported, no further action is required by the user. Reports can be run immediately, whether it's printed, reports, or published directly to user's dashboard. The import feature is opened by selecting Open from File. There are two options available for importing a P6 project file. This first option is when importing a project for the first time. The option number 2, Update, Project Update. This one allows you to update, when you want to update regularly, an existing project with changes for the current status period. You call this option Add an Update, and if I have time, I might be able to show you an example of how this works. However, this will be shown in the video that we'll publish a bit later. Okay, so what I do now is I select option 1. I'm prompted now to go and get the file that I'm looking for. It's a zip file, archive file. I want this one, and open. When the file opens, Adrega performs a compatibility check. It provides information about the baselines that are included with the file, the number of activities, and the number of links. Step 3 is configured for the baseline so that if I haven't got a release higher than 15.1, then I can, for example, have no baseline. I can use the option Import Plan Dates in the file and use them to update the baseline and original sets in Adrega. If I'm restoring or I've got a separate baseline file and I want to use it, then I'd use the Use Import Baseline option. In this particular instance, I've got the baseline files included in the file, and I can import them directly. I've also got a currency value because my display currency in Primavera is Norwegian krona, but the default currency is 7.5, so I enter that. Here are the baselines, so I'm going to take the original baseline, the sign-off baseline, and link it to Adrega's original baseline set. I'm going to take the mid-update and use it as the Adrega baseline. Here I'm able to change some attributes of the project. For example, I've got some project code fields that I want to use. I'm going to call it Adrega. The next step is quite important because it's where you have an option to create an import template map that can be used to map project codes, activity codes, UDFs and resource codes in a P6 project to corresponding user fields in Adrega. You don't need an import map when importing, so you can just click on OK or Next, and the system default map we use and the import will start. But what I'll do now, I'm going to edit this import map and show you how this works. The list of fields on the left-hand side here are all the ones that are in use in the Primavera project. There can be a gazillion fields created, but we're only going to show you the ones that are in use. The ones that you want to map to in Adrega, you move to the right-hand side of this dialog, and then having moved them to the right, you link them to corresponding fields in Adrega. If they're activity codes and they're fixed, you can create them in Adrega so the naming is the same, or if they're UDFs, you can link them, for example, to a text field and bring it in that way. So this is the way that you would map project codes, activity codes, UDFs, and resource codes to similar fields in Adrega. Clicking Next saves any changes I've made. I click Finish, and now I can run the import. With the import running, we get some messages as what's happening. If there were period being imported, Adrega will give you a full indication of this. And we also give you an idea of how long it's taken, a good way of telling us in the event if anything is not performing quickly enough. Clicking Finish, and off I go. And now I go back to the projects page, and here's the Saratoga project loaded in. And if we take a quick look, here's the project from Primavera. And as you can see, we've got a schedule percent complete of 11.73, performance percent complete 5.81, P6 cost percent complete 5.4, and all the numbers, for example, the earned value of 1,496.75, 175 matches in Adrega. So as soon as the project has been published, it's available for a user to see. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to log out of Adrega here, and I'm going to log in as EH. And EH is in fact the project sponsor, and the project sponsor has a number of reports that they are very interested in, that they see immediately the project is published. So here you can see I've logged in as EH, and here is a set of reports covering the project that we just looked at. Here's the labor unit status summary. I can click and go to the cost status summary, and we're going to see exactly the same information that we saw in the Primavera project. Here's the same values that we saw with planned cost, earned value cost, already available. As you see, the reports are available to use immediately after the project has been imported. All the features available in the dashboard that I demonstrated earlier I showed are available to any dashboard user, so they can preview and print. And if EH wants a hard copy of the graphical and tabular reports, just clicks on PDF and bingo, here they are in all their glory. So again, all we've done is import the project, created a set of reports in the background, and they are available to the user instantly. And here they are. So in just a few minutes, I've exported the project from P6, imported it to Adrega PI. The project sponsors viewed the latest project status in their personal dashboard, and then with a single output, the report set is sent to TDF. I have now logged back in as myself, and I'll now use the P6 option number 2 to show how you update an existing project with data for the next status period. The second P6 import option is used when you would like to update a project previously imported into Adrega with status for the next cutoff. As with the first import option, the project to be used for updating has been updated in P6 by doing the following. The data date has been set to the end of June, activities and assignments progressed and updated, and finally the project has been scheduled and summarized. The project I'm using as an example has used the stored period performance feature to store status data each time the data date has been updated. If you save period performance regularly, it does mean you will see historical progress values in Adrega PI reports, so switching to our reporting solution can be done at any stage in the life of the project. Our reports will accurately report saved historical, planned, earned and actual values. Before we import, I'll do some housekeeping, and the first step is to create a backup of the project. I'll give it the name May.bu and click OK to save it. Once the project has been saved, I'll use our archive feature to archive the copy. This is the archive feature. It's now archived. It's always nice to know you have a copy that can help save the day if you don't like the results of the update. Also, if you're thinking about how the compare feature I showed earlier can be used, archived projects can easily be restored and included in a compare report bundle. So you could then easily compare status in, say, September with what you have today in March, as in March the project baseline has been updated. With the project archived, I'll start the update wizard. The first step is to select the project in the project list in the projects view I would like to update. Current data date for the Melrose project is end of May, and I want to update to match status in P6 to end of June. With the import from file option open, I select the second P6 import option for project update and click next. As this is a zip file, I select the zip file option, select the project file and click open. As with option 1, the compatibility check dialog is displayed, providing me with some additional information about the project. Clicking next will take me to project compare options. And if you've seen any of our previous webinars, you'll see we've added some new update options. If the project baseline for your project has not been updated, there is no longer any requirement for the baseline files to be exported from P6 when updating the master project. This greatly simplifies the update process and makes it a lot faster. If, however, you have updated your project baseline, then using the new update option, you can check the option update baseline values, and if you follow all the remaining steps and complete the update, the project baseline in Adrega will be updated to match the project baseline in P6. The option, use baseline and original values from target project in the compare view, we recommend should be set as checked if the baseline is not being updated. As project currency is NOK, I need to enter my project conversion rate of 7.5. Regarding this option, select existing financial periods to update. This option supports the update in Adrega PI of a previous performance period that has been updated in P6. For example, an owner doesn't agree with your earned value submission, and this results in a change to EV in a previous period, for example, April. Using this option, you can select the period that has been updated, and on import, Adrega PI will update the stored period in Adrega PI to match the changes you made in P6. If you're using the period performance feature, you may find this update feature extremely valuable in keeping Adrega PI in sync with period performance values in P6. As I'm not going to update the project baseline this period, clicking next opens the import template step. This project also has an import map and will, if any changes are made during the status period to activity codes and project codes included in the import map, the changes will be reflected in the project in Adrega PI when the update process is completed. Note that if additional fields are needed to be imported, you will need to edit the import map to include them and then continue with the import. Clicking next starts the building of the compare view, which when opened will show a comparison between status at end of May and status at the end of June. The compare view displays data for the project before it is updated, current, as well as what the project will look like once the changes for the new period have been merged. The left pane of my compare view displays status for the previous period May, while the right pane displays current status at the end of June. This represents how the project will look when current status is merged with the previous period. This provides a nice way to review status for the new cutoff and check to see if there is something you are not happy with. The layout view in each pane in the compare view can be changed. For example, you might want to see cost performance information and compare changes with June with May. You can see the view grouped using activity codes and compare performance by phase or department. You can also create a filtered view set to show only what has been updated or if any new activities have been added or deleted. You can also open in the dashboard a default compare bundle, which will give you a graphical representation of the changes between May and June, and this can include S-curves as well as Gantt charts and can be printed. The compare steps support as detailed a check a user may require and assist in confirming that the file being imported is consistent. In addition, it can also be used to gain an understanding of what has been changed between the current and previous reporting periods. If you're not sure that all is okay, you can actually print a copy of the current layout in the same way as I showed you when we took a look at the dashboard.
so you can use the dashboard bundles to print hard copies of information for comparison or discussion with your team members. As can be appreciated, this feature is extremely useful when the user is working with complex projects or projects where all of the P6 resource types have been assigned to activities. If issues are found, the import can be cancelled and rerun once the P6 file has been updated and re-exported. As everything here is OK, I will click on Update to complete the update process. Here you see information related to the import of the project file and what has been updated, and clicking Finish returns me to my projects page where I can see the updated status of the project updated to the end of June. Once again, all key values match what you would be seeing in the P6 project updated to June. And just like I did with AH, who was the project sponsor for the Saratoga project, I could go directly to my personal dashboard and view a similar set of reports. However, as I also have the role reporting, I'll open up the reporting module and print my pre-configured monthly status reports using the report bundle feature. Here I can select the print version of the Melrose bundle, selected by default with PDF, and click OK, and the reports will be output to PDF, and I can view them immediately.
I hope that I've demonstrated the flexibility of the reporting solution and how easy it is to create many different types of high quality reports. In particular, I think the report bundle feature is certainly a feature that I hope you'll agree with me will result in significant value creation as it does speed up the reporting process. The dynamic dashboard adds even more value to what I believe is already a feature-rich solution. However, being able to print all your reports as I've just done directly from within the dashboard tells you a lot about how Adrega goes about providing quality user-friendly software. So whether you're interested in ad hoc status reporting or need to regularly report status to management clients, I believe we have a robust solution for you. So thanks for allowing me to present our solution. I certainly hope we've shown you a solution that can solve your reporting needs. So let me hand over to Malcolm, and if we have time, he can take any questions you may have sent him, and if we can't answer them, we'll get back to you by email. So once again, thank you for your attention, and over to you, Malcolm.
Thank you, John. Much appreciated, and thank you very much for the presentation you've delivered. There are a number of questions, but because there are a couple and we've run slightly over, what I'll do is I'll send those out individually to those users who have raised their hands. In terms of any questions or any queries, you can send them to either myself or John. I don't know whether you can put up the last slide on there, John, just so it's got our contact details on. So if you do have any questions or queries, please don't hesitate to give us a call or send an email, and we'd be happy to answer those and provide further information. As I said, the additions to the recording for importing and updating the existing project within the solution, and then we will distribute that presentation and recording of the webinar out to all those that have attended. We'd be obviously happy to discuss this further with you if you're interested in having a more detailed look at the solution. But before we go, just many thanks to all of you for attending, and I really do hope that we can have a more detailed conversation with you all about the impressive Adrega solution. So finally, thank you very much indeed, and I look forward to hearing from you all soon. Thank you very much indeed then.